So here we go.
Yay.
Welcome to the long-delayed sixth episode of the second season of the Gentleman Fantasy Football Podcast. We spent the last hour trying to figure out why the mixer didn't work.
Tell them why.
And it had nothing to do with the mixer.
Tell them.
I had the wrong USB cable plugged into the computer to record.
Yeah, wouldn't you know it? His printer doesn't pick up microphones.
It's amazing, you know. Anyways, there's fantasy football stuff to talk about.
I wish there was a caption of the defeated look on his face. It literally took him over an hour to figure out his own equipment. It was beautiful.
Pretty gay.
Whoa. I don't know if 2 of our 9 subscribers would appreciate that comment.
Well, you know, the other 7 will.
I'll let them figure out who that is.
And here we are. You know, since it took forever to figure that out, I am not into the league stuff yet. Robert, tell me something I didn't know.
Well, it's something you do know, but it's still relevant. It's the pre-playoff episode of the Gentleman Fantasy Podcast, so we're going to go over all the fun reasons why this is going to be a great podcast, including the fact that there's multiple matchups that have very big outcomes that can change a lot of things. Being in or out of the playoffs, being in or out of the bye week, myself included in that. You know, a lot of things can change hands in this last week. I actually you explained it in the beginning of the year how it could come down to the last week and how a lot of divisional matchups could make or break some people's dreams. And lo and behold, here we are, and that's actually what's happening. So it's kind of exciting that everybody's kind of tight enough in their divisions that there's some really neat stipulations this deep into the season.
Yep. 4 of the 6 matchups, I always set the schedule up so that the last 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks are division-heavy matchups, which really goes a long ways to settling, you know, a lot of the stuff. Everything gets settled kind of head-to-head. 4 of the 6 matchups are inter-division matchups this week.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, you know, there's 3 people in every division, and it still ended up in a way where the 2 more relevant people in the division are battling each other. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, let's get to the standings real quick. We're going to start from, let's just go by division. I was going to go by record, but let's go by division. Let's start in the Richie division with Travis, Robert, and Andrew. Andrew's out of it, but Travis and Robert are both tied at 9-3. And you two are playing each other this week. 9-3 is the second best record in the league. The winner of this matchup, sudden death, do or die, the winner of this matchup gets into the division champs game to play Jason. Now, We'll get back to that matchup. I just want to go over the scenarios here quick, and we'll dive into them a little further. In the other head-to-head matchup is in the Ralph division. That is me versus Justin. I'm 6-6. He's 5-7, but if he beats me, we tie record-wise, and he's got me by 100 points in overall in total points. So a tie with me and him would mean he would win the division. And since both this division is terrible, and 6-6, 5-7 are the top 2 teams in that division, whoever wins this matchup this week punches a ticket into the playoffs as the 4th division winner,
otherwise known as the NFC East of
basically
League of Ordinary Gentlemen.
And the Fonzie division, things didn't shake out last week how I had hoped, but last week Ed played Luke, and if Luke would have beat Ed, you would have had 3 7-5 teams going into the final week. It ended up getting flip-flopped. Ed's 8-4, Crawl's 7-5, Luke is 6-6. But Ed and Crawl play each other this week, and Luke plays Steve, who's 1-11. So, with that being said, if Crawl loses and Luke wins, and they are 6 and 7 in total points. So if Crawl loses and Luke wins and Luke outscores Crawl by 26 points, which is kind of a tall task.
Yeah.
He'd be in the playoffs.
That'd be tough.
If Crawl beats Ed, I think if Crawl beats Ed, where's Ed? Now, if Crawl beats Ed, it doesn't matter. Ed still ends up in the same spot. So it's really those are the three matchups. Everybody else is kind of either in or out. Jason's in at 10-2. Ryan's out. Zach's out. And Steve's out, and so is Andrew. So
yeah, and you know what's crazy about the Potsy division is if you told me at the beginning of the year I was in a division with Ryan and Lois, I'd have been like, shit. You know, that's like 5 of our 11 or whatever it is championships
like that, yeah.
on one division. I'd have been like, this sucks. But now I'm looking at it and being like, wow, did I really have to be in the one division where being tied for the second best record in the league means I could end up being a wild card? Like, is that really what's about to happen here?
Right. And Jason, he also reminded me this week during Thanksgiving that he's got 2 losses. Guess who his 2 losses are to?
Go on. I don't actually
you
know. Oh.
and Travis.
Oh,
those are his only 2 losses, are to you two.
So if he doesn't win, no matter who wins between us, we're technically the 1 seed?
No.
Because we'd have the same record and he'd have a loss against us?
It goes by points.
Oh. Well, I think Travis has more points, so he would be.
Travis would be the 1 seed, yeah.
Fair enough.
If
meaningless argument.
If Jason loses, Travis would be the 1 seed. And for what it's worth, no. Travis would be the 1 seed.
Neat.
That's the only guy who can leapfrog him. All right, well, let's get into the matchups for this week then. I'm just going to go down the list here, and of course, since it's under my team, my matchup shows up first.
Obviously, 3 of the Thursday games have been played, so we're a little bit into it.
Yes, we're a little bit into it. Justin has 45 points on me right now.
Yeah, you had some unfortunate shakes there with Allen Robinson going off. He definitely had a good game.
Yeah, and Devin Singletary finally getting the rock and scoring 16 points. Really doesn't help me at all.
Yeah, rough stuff, man.
But, Justin decided on Breeze, and, we should get into some of the stuff that's happened in the last, 17 weeks since we've talked.
Bring back Teddy Two Gloves.
You're right. No, but Justin had Tom Brady and Drew Brees, ended up dropping Tom Brady last week. I thought Crawl was going to be all over him because right the same day there was 2 trades and the drop of Tom Brady all happened on the same Thursday. I traded Will Fuller. Fuck that guy.
Don't you talk about him like that. I love Will
that guy's
Fuller.
A piece of shit. Now, I said I rode him for 4 weeks to start the season, and then on the 5th week the Packers played the Cowboys, and me and Jason were watching the game together.
How about them Cowboys?
And Will Fuller went off. That's the game. He had like 40 points. And I looked at Jason and I said, that bum. I was about to drop his ass, and now I have to keep him at least another 4 weeks.
Well, it was no secret he's boomer bust. There's a lot of players like him.
So the next week, I start him again. He plays the first quarter, turns his ankle or his knee or whatever, and doesn't play again until week 12.
Yeah, he does Will Fuller things.
He's cleared to play week 12. I packaged James White and Will Fuller for DK Metcalf, thinking, all right, I got a guy I can start.
I was
And
all
then-
in on that trade. by
And
the
then
way.
Will Fuller goes off for 14 points.
Yeah, Will Fuller things.
Just don't ever trust Will Fuller. Anyway,
There's 10 or 11 guys I could just off
So-
the top of my head that are the same way.
so I made that trade with Joby for James White and Will Fuller for DK Metcalf. And then at the same time, Kral traded Aaron Rodgers and the backup running back for the Browns, Kareem Hunt,
Yeah, that one blindsided me a little. There was
for Saquon
other
Barkley.
guys in that too, but yeah, Saquon Barkley and who was the quarterback that he got back for him?
Oh, was it Darnold?
Might have been, yeah.
It was either Darnold or...
There's no way we
'cause
can
he's
look
got
this
Daniel
up.
Jones, too. It's definitely Darnold.
Yeah, probably.
So, after that all happened, I thought...
Actually, it was Daniel Jones.
Okay,
Doesn't
so
matter.
anyways, so Kral's rocking with the two New York quarterbacks, and Sunday rolls around, and I'm like, oh, shit, I got to put money on Tom Brady. Someone's got to put money on Tom Brady because Kral's going to be all over Tom Brady.
Right.
And I assumed for sure Kral would bid over $10 on Tom Brady. I sent Kral a message that morning
Yep.
asking him if he wanted me to trade him Foles because of his quarterback situation, just trying to gauge what he would say back.
Yeah, sort of bait him into maybe figuring it out.
Right. And
Sounds like collusion to me.
his reply was, I'm set at quarterback for this year.
Whoa!
Which I was like,
With
you
Danny
are still
Dimes?
trying to make the playoffs, right? And the waivers came around. You ended up getting Tom Brady.
Right. Well, you told me, you were like, hey, I'm thinking about dropping $10 on Tom Brady, and I basically told you not to bother.
Well,
because I was putting
I
more
said
on
that
him.
I was either going to put $10 on Brady or $1 on Brady because all I had was $10, and I wanted to make sure nobody got him
Right.
for a reasonable price. But at the same rate, I didn't want to use all my money on a guy that I wasn't going to start.
Right. At which point I told you don't waste your time because I'm paying $11 for
Right.
Brady, and that's not collusion because there's literally nothing he could do about it.
And there was... Well, I told you straight out, I'm either putting $10 or $1 on him because he's either going to be the most important guy I pick up or I'm banking that no one else bids on him because if somebody bids on him, they were going to bid over $10 because I had the least money.
Right.
So if nobody bid on him, I'd get him for $1. So why would I bid on him? Why would I put $10 on him if the only way I would get him is if nobody else bid on him?
Correct.
So that's where I said, do I put $10 on him or do I bid the $1? And then you were like, well, I'm bidding over $10, so don't bid the $1
So it
or
didn't
don't
matter.
bid the 10.
Don't waste your time.
So I ended up bidding like $3 on him because I wanted to put $1 on a Ajayi because Ajayi got picked up.
Which is ridiculous because I picked up Ajayi thinking he was going to play for Detroit because I personally like him a lot. Detroit never ends up using him. I drop him. And then, of course, Philadelphia picks him up, and you had him. And I'm freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
This guy. So I was a little bummed there, especially with my recent woes at running back.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Speaking of woes at running back,
Carry on my wayward son.
let's talk about the Detroit running backs for a second here. Because I did not do the research on how much money was spent on Detroit running backs this year, but in my mind, this is how it played out. Kerryon Johnson got hurt. It looked like Trey Johnson was going to be the guy. Somebody spent over $20 on Trey Johnson. It turned out that the guy, he was from New England.
Yeah, it was Jesus Christ.
Either way, a guy out of nowhere from New England ended up getting picked up and taking his spot. And then he got hurt immediately. I can't remember who it was, but he got hurt immediately. So then the next week, Trey Johnson got dropped. Someone spent a bunch of money on that guy. I don't remember who it was.
All right. It was, what was it? Perkins? No.
Paul Perkins was there too.
Look at this list of running backs for Detroit. It's such a mess.
Oh yeah, C.J. Anderson.
Oh, McKissick. J.D.
no,
McKissick was
Trey
was
Carson.
another one too.
No, it was Trey Carson, the guy who played for the Packers. Okay, so here's what happened. Ty Johnson was supposed to have the starting spot. So then he ended up, and these aren't all, these are just the available guys.
Oh, yeah, put it to all. There you go. That's an even bigger mess.
Okay. Here we go. This is fantastic.
Wow, what a...
So,
You can almost scroll down. That's how crazy that list is.
I mean, it's insane. So Ty Johnson was supposed to be the guy. Someone spent $20+ on Ty Johnson. He ended up not being the guy. It ended up being Trey Carson. Trey Carson gets picked up by somebody. He immediately goes on the IR for a practice
Related injury.
related injury that week. So then it ends up being Paul Perkins' job. Well, Paul Perkins gets hurt. Someone picks him up. Whatever. It looks like it's going to be Ty Johnson's job again. Then Ryan spends $20+ on Ty Johnson, the guy who somebody else spent $20 on 2 weeks earlier. Ty Johnson does not get the job. It ends up being J.D. McKissick, who I ended up picking up for like $7 or $8. McKissick had the job for 2 weeks. They pick up Bo Scarborough.
Somewhere
off
in here,
of
I pick up
waivers.
Jay Ajayi, by the way, thinking he's going to be the starting Detroit running
So
back.
Bo Scarborough gets picked up off of waivers. Detroit picks him up, and then somebody spends $20+ on him.
I really like him, by the way.
So there was like $70 spent throughout the league on Detroit running backs that have all been terrible.
Yeah, it's insane. All because my boy just couldn't stay on the damn field.
Carry on my wayward son.
And that's the last time you were going to get a carry on Johnson drop.
Ugh.
All time.
Till next year when I bring him back. He was
We'll see
underrated.
about
I
that.
picked him up. He was overrated. I didn't draft him. He's going to be like Matt Ryan. He's an every other year kind of running back. I'll go all in on him again next year. When everybody thinks he's a bum, he was hurt, blah, 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 I'll get him nice and cheap. Nobody in our fantasy league will know it's coming because it's not recorded on a podcast that there's 8 or 9 subscribers to.
All right. Let's quick do the math here on the Justin versus Pope matchup. Started out the week that I was projected to win like 101 to 80 something. He's had 4 players play on Thursday: Drew Brees, Devin Singletary, Allen Robinson, the Lions defense, for a total of 45.8 points. I'm still projected to win 101.6 to 90.7. My whole team is questionable, which is a good start. And
I found that interesting, by the way. He got like decent points from everybody. I guess the expectation for Breeze would be higher against a team like
Breeze's
Atlanta.
expectation was like 20 points, I think.
Yeah, but it still seems like it's nuts that you're still projected to win by that much, over 10 points.
Yeah, that bothers me.
Yeah, projections.
I-
Mike
no.
Clay, he's always right.
Still yet to play, he's got Miles Sanders, the Philly running back, who's sharing time with Jay Ajayi, kind of. I don't know what's going on there. The Philadelphia just doesn't make sense altogether.
Philly special.
DeAndre Hopkins, who's had kind of a down year, but he's playing New England, and that means he's getting shut down by none other than...
What?
You can't remember his name either. The New England Patriots...
Oh, the stud cornerback?
The stud cornerback.
Fuck. Yeah, you got me.
Uh,
Devin McCourty.
no, it starts with a G.
Shit. I don't know.
I don't
just
know
know
either.
McCourty.
Anyway, Ryan Griffin, the Jets tight end. I had a Jets tight end once. That didn't work out well. And Joey Sly,
I was so happy.
the Carolina kicker, who makes clutch field goals and then misses them too. I don't know. He's sitting Delvin Cook on his bench. Why is Delvin Cook sitting on his bench?
Oh, I have some way bigger bench questions coming up that you're going to love.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is
Jason.
Delvin Cook on the bench? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jason, we'll talk about that one. Huh. I guess he's just not feeling... Delvin Cook is the number 2 overall running back.
Yeah.
this year.
That's odd.
It's odd that he's not starting him in the
Sounds like
most crucial game of the season. We'll find out. He's got Damian Williams, who's still out, Matt Breida from San Francisco, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds, Kyle Rudolph, and Alan Lizard from the Packers.
the lizard.
My bench is just a pile of garbage, so there's no point in talking about that.
Stephon Gilmore.
It is Stephon Gilmore. See, I knew it was the G.
And the quarterback is Jason McCourty. Devin McCourty's the safety. Sorry.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
the kind of fucking in-depth analysis you're getting here. We don't mess around. I
That's
will
right.
backtrack and figure those facts out long after they're relevant.
You know, if we had a producer to look that stuff up for us.
Yeah, we need a guy.
You know, I think-
that isn't in our league, that's profoundly interested in what we're doing for no reason whatsoever,
You
that
know,
would be willing to do that kind of
I
research.
feel like next year, every podcast, we should just have Aaron come here and produce it for us, and then we don't have to do any of the editing. We could just make him do
we'll
it.
just ramble and he'll be like, yeah, fact check, it's this guy. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
So, Aaron, you have a new job next year. It pays nothing.
With literally nothing to gain.
You might get a Keystone Light out of it.
But it'll mean you also have to hand us Keystone Lights while we're doing it.
That is correct. Speaking of handing Keystone Lights, why don't you get me another one?
I got you.
If there's got to be another one in there. You know, I think there must have been Joby who brought the Keystone Lights for my birthday drink-a-thon. Because I don't know who else would have brought the Keystones.
Well, if there's one person I would put in a Keystone Light commercial besides Keith Stone, it would be the Job. And that long, beautiful, glistening.
Give me a head with hair, long, beautiful hair, shining, gleaming, streaming, waxing, waxing.
Oh,
Grow it, show it, long as I can grow it, my hair.
That's our clever way of stopping to drink some beer without
That's
having
right.
to fill for time.
we will not talk about Joby's matchup. He's out of the playoffs. Who cares?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
All right.
He
The
was
next-
projected, by the way, at the beginning of the year to win it all.
To win it all. That's right.
Him and his Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, whatever mashup he
Ezekiel
had.
Elliott, Saquon Barkley.
What happened?
Jacoby Brissett, DK
Yikes.
Metcalf, some other guys.
Bunch of them, yeah. It was
He had
sad.
he
It
had
was-
16 guys.
It was a hell of a fall from grace.
It was.
All right.
The next matchup that matters this week is Steve versus Luke Depry. Now, I mean, it's projected to be close, I guess. Depry still, he keeps getting points out of Marvin Jones. I hate Marvin Jones.
Yeah, he didn't get any help from his field goal kicker, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was a -1.
God, did you watch that game? That Dallas game?
No, I didn't actually. I just saw
There was 3 missed field goals in a row between Dallas and Buffalo. They were missing field goals like crazy. We couldn't
Fantastic.
understand why. It's indoors. Like, it wasn't like some prevailing winds or crazy sunlight. It was literally a night indoor game where there's no excuse to miss field goals. They were missing more than they made.
It was turkey.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Thanksgiving.
Interesting. So they were trying to kick a turkey between the field goal posts?
No.
instead of a
I
football?
mean, that's just why they were tired.
Fair enough. Tryptophan gets
It's
you every
hard to
time.
get the full leg into it when you've had a turkey.
a full turkey leg.
Yes. It was turkey leg in it.
Oh, that was the worst. Please
All right.
delete that entire
We will-
sequence. We just did. That was-
I will not.
Damn it!
We're not going to spend a lot of time going over this. All I know is that Steve has the 2017 All-Stars, Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, Odell Beckham.
Whoa.
Uh,
That would have been clutch.
that would have been great a couple of years ago. The Broncos' defense would have been good then.
Yikes.
Josh
Even
Lambo was
Kenyon
still a
Drake.
kicker. Kenyon Drake. Carson Wentz was good for, about 7 minutes one time.
2017, yeah. that would have been killer.
Yeah, shit, he's even got Golden Tate and Adrian Peterson on his bench, Latavius Murray. I mean, think about how good Ryan Tannehill.
Yikes.
Wasn't Tannehill a sleeper in 2017?
So, okay,
this would
so
have been a team.
This is a glitch in the software he had. He forgot to update the
He
roster.
was still using the
Yep.
draft strategy.
He put in the auction stuff, but he forgot to, and that explains last year too. So, Steve, here's a subtle reminder: you got to update
Yes,
the player data.
You got to do that Windows update.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
He probably didn't even know players like Pat Mahomes and Cook and all those guys were even available.
No, I mean, he just drafts Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan or
Right.
Carson Palmer. That's why he's got Carson Wentz.
There you go.
He needed a Carson.
Yep, that's that Carson algorithm he put into his system.
So either way,
That's why he put so much money on Chris Carson. It was the only people he knew that were available.
oh, those Carsons. Luke's got Mahomes, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, Jones already played 10 points. Robbie Anderson, Zach Ertz, Ronnie Jones. He's got 2 Jones with the suffixes on his. Yeah, anyways, the Eagles defense, which is good now. Apparently, I
Does
got
he
a lot
have
of
Ricky
shit
Seals
for it.
Jones?
Well, let's check.
I don't even think he's a tight end.
He's
anymore.
got. No wonder there are no available defenses. He's got 3 of them.
or Joneses.
Interesting. And he's hanging on to Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Well, anyway, he needs to outscore Carl by 20 points after he beats Steve to even make this a thing. So, well, let's move on from that.
Time will tell.
Ed and Kral. Now, this one, actually, this doesn't mean anything aside from the fact that if Kral loses, he can miss the playoffs. But Kral's starting Aaron Jones, not Arnold Jones.
Whoa, hey Darnold.
Saquon Barkley, Alshon Jeffrey, Jamison Crowder, Hunter Henry, Todd Gurley, the Browns defense, Greg Zuerlein,
Jeez.
and Julio Jones is out. T.Y. Hilton's out. Emmanuel Sanders is on his bench. Jamal Williams, Mark Andrews, the Colts. Why is Mark Andrews on his bench?
Who's he starting at tight end?
Hunter Henry. Interesting. Ed's got a good team. He's got Lamar Jackson. It's kind of important.
That's the thing. Maybe that's why he benched Andrews. He's trying to go for a contrarian. Maybe Jackson has a bad day, doesn't throw tutties to Andrews.
They are playing San Francisco.
A lot of Lamar's touchdowns seem to go to Andrews. Like I'd leave him in as a safe bet because if my tight end doesn't do great, that's not as big a deal as if a quarterback doesn't. If Jackson goes off and 3 of his 5 touchdowns are to Andrews, he could at least mitigate some of that risk. That's how I look at it. But I'm also the guy who finishes 4th every year, so fuck my advice.
Right. Ed's got kind of a scary team because he's got Lamar Jackson, who's just been, far and away the most fun quarterback to watch this year. Tevin Coleman's been playing great for San Francisco. LaShawn McCoy, all right, I mean,
Has no place on that roster whatsoever.
well,
I would pick 3 running backs off of waivers before I played LaShawn McCoy. I'm not even being sarcastic.
Jordan Howard's questionable. Royce Freeman, and that really is the only running back options. But his wide receivers, Michael Thomas,
who really kind of disappointed by Michael Thomas.
He
standards.
did. Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, and those are just his starting 3 wide receivers. He's not even using Brandon Cooks, who's had a bad year.
Yeah, Cooks has been disappointing. Woods too.
And
the whole Rams offense.
He's got Marquise Brown on his bench. He's got Hollywood Brown on his bench.
I do love me some Marquise Brown.
Ed's team turned out all right this year, I gotta say. All right, to the only other game that really matters.
Yes.
And this one matters. This one probably matters the most. Because even though Justin and I, one of us is going to make the playoffs, either one of us who makes the playoffs is just going to lose the first week.
Well, if you're
so
playing
it's not like it matters.
Kyle, you just came off a win against me. If I lose this, I think I play you potentially.
Correct. Whoever loses this game
So you could
would play me.
Bounce right back and beat me again. You're good to go. But that would then stop my 4th place finish, which we know is a guarantee. So you'd be fucked.
That's true.
Nothing stops me from finishing 4th, Kyle.
Yeah, me too. I've had a lot of fourths as well. All right.
Anyways,
So the big matchup here. Josh Allen versus Dak Prescott, 21.5 to 21.7. It's basically a wash.
can I explain the beauty of that wash?
Tell me about the beauty.
You didn't watch the Dallas Bills game?
Of course I did not.
Okay. John Brown, my wide receiver for Buffalo. You may notice he has a pass.
Yes. He had a passing touchdown. That's right.
I was so happy when that passing touchdown happened. I was like, oh my God, talk about best case scenario. Like, they're cruising down, they're inside the red zone. I'm like, God damn it, Josh Allen's going to go crazy. They do this crazy double reverse. John Brown throws the touchdown to Singletary, and I'm like, oh my God, I might be in this thing. And then Dak gets that last, fourth quarter touchdown or whatever to even it out. I really got away with murder there. What kills me, though, and this is why I hate kickers in fantasy, and I'm, for the rest of my life, going to put it up for a vote to get rid of kickers, is they're stupid unpredictable. Travis got 17 points out of Lutz because the Saints failed to score in the red zone 4 times at the end of the game, and we're just content to kick field goals. They scored 6 touchdowns. He has 6 points. Like, that's just such a massive point differential. It makes me wonder if, like, field goals should be worth slightly less. Like, does a 50-yard field goal really almost equate to a touchdown in fantasy?
Yes, because I would argue with you, if this was 5 or 6 years ago, I would say who gives a fuck. But since they changed the kicking rules and they've made the extra points tougher and they've made the ball harder to kick and all that stuff, I think that kickers, they're not any more important, but they can swing games so much more because you get a guy like Mason Crosby who's solid all the time, but then misses one field goal and is reeling, misses another one, then all of a sudden he misses like 3 in a game. Those negative points can really hurt you.
Well, and it can. Travis got.
It's
17
not like they're automatic anymore.
No, but my point is, everybody says wait to draft a kicker and a defense. Why? Why don't I draft a kicker in the 3rd round? If he can score 17, that's more effective than my wideouts.
Yeah, but here's the problem with kickers. You can't tell week to week, and you don't know year to year who's the guy.
Yeah, but I also don't know who's going to catch a touchdown on a given week. How is a kicker any less important with that kind of scoring available than a wide receiver or running back? If my wideout scores 10 points, that's a decent week, unless I'm expecting like Devontae Adams or Julio Jones type numbers.
So, you can go ahead and spend $15 on a kicker. I don't give a shit.
If I'm just saying like Zerline or Lutz or somebody in a high-powered offense, you could make an argument that's almost as important.
Yeah, but you look at a guy like Zerline this year. Last year, Zerline was huge. This year, he's not getting any points because that offense isn't moving the ball.
Neither is Odell Beckham.
Yeah, but he would have been. Well, I understand what you're saying, but that's why I think I try not to spend a bunch of money on any single player on my team, thinking that I would just cherry pick depth later on, and it doesn't work that way.
I know, but with our scoring, I'm really starting to wonder, like, the boomer bust potential is no different with a running back or wideout than with a kicker. And if I can get somebody that can put those kind of points up in a high-powered offense, that's worth more than somebody like ODB or a running back that like David Johnson.
If you could find a sure thing, which
I spent $45 on David Johnson, he's not even startable. What's more important? Kickers don't really get hurt too often. Like, at least you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's something I'm going to do more thinking about. I'll come back with data on that next time we do this. But in one of our off-season pods, I'm going to make my kicker argument.
It's a crapshoot.
It's all a crapshoot.
Anyway.
Matt Ryan, look at him.
Well, he's an every other year guy. You're the guy who started it.
That's my point, though. There's no position that isn't a crapshoot. Tom Brady, good for 1 touchdown a game over the last 6. $1 quarterback, Dak Prescott, is the 3rd best quarterback in football. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, I agree.
Kenyon Drake, Freaking, I thought David Johnson would be money. He rolls his ankle for 2 weeks. They signed Drake, and now David Johnson, even though he's healthy, he's just a blocker now. What was once the best fucking running back in football, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, running backs change fast.
Everything does.
Well, I mean, just look at your boy Chris Carson. Chris Carson got vultured last week.
Yeah, it's 1 week, though.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I don't put a lot of stock in what happened if you watched the game, which you probably didn't because you don't watch games.
No.
It was pretty what happened, the situations where he got that big touchdown and he got a 30-yard carry. The stats were a little deceiving there if you
They
watched
rode
the game,
him though. He had more carries.
He did. He had some more touches. It was game dependent. They were trying to do a hurry up offense. He was in the drives where they had him on the field. I still think Carson, I'd be willing to bet Carson outscores Penny by at least 20 points the rest of the year, but that's a pointless bet.
No, it's kind of a pointless bet. We got Christian McCaffrey versus Josh Jacobs, Sony Michel versus Chris Carson, Stephon Diggs versus Devontae Adams, DJ Chark versus John Brown.
We got time. Give me some analysis on this. I want to know what you think because this is important to me. He's projected to win by a pretty healthy margin. I don't think I'm necessarily out of it.
Now, before we get into that, you see, most people are afraid to trade with me because they think any trade I offer, I'm just trying to rape someone.
Well, I can show you some historical data if you give me a little time.
I would like to remind
that's
you
exactly what happened.
I would like to remind you that the people only remember the ones that work. People never remember the ones that don't work. And I traded for Valdez-Scantling earlier this season and just gave away Royce Freeman for absolutely nothing because Valdez-Scantling's worthless.
As is Royce Freeman.
I made a handful of trades, but regardless, I traded Josh Allen for Kyler Murray and the San Francisco defense, which is interesting because he's not playing the San Francisco defense. Because they're playing Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a risky play.
I would have to. I don't know the numbers, but I'd have to guess that since I got Kyler Murray, I think Josh Allen may have outscored Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but I don't blame you for the trade at the time. I dropped Josh Allen at one point. Like, he wasn't producing. Like, he was a late bloomer there where just recently he's all of a sudden freaking Johnny Unitas reborn.
But here's the point I want to make is Travis has had the highest scoring team this year.
Right.
Okay.
He doesn't have bad weeks.
And prior to Travis offering me the Kyler Murray for I don't remember. He gave me a defense. I think he gave me like the Jets defense or something. I don't remember what it was.
That sounds right.
But
because you played the Jets defense against me, and they got.
I don't remember how it worked.
Or was it Oakland?
Either way. No,
think
I
it was
played Oakland against you.
Yeah,
and
you
Oakland
played them
wasn't good.
against me.
But originally the trade talk started with I was going to give up Derrick Henry and one of my receivers.
Damn.
No, shit. I was going to give up Derrick Henry and George Kittle
Oh, thank Christ you
for
didn't.
Sony Michel, Stephon Diggs, Kyler Murray, and Evan Ingram, who's still hurt.
Wow.
And
I am so glad he turned that down.
I offered that. He said no.
Jesus, he would.
No, he was like, I don't want Derrick Henry.
He didn't want him.
He didn't want Derrick Henry. He's like, Derrick Henry sucks. It's basically what it came down to.
I was trying to come up.
Said
with
he'd
words.
rather have Stephon Diggs than Derrick Henry.
Winter Derrick Henry is like the best thing ever.
Yeah, Derrick Henry won me my matchup last week.
Jesus, against me, by the way. Him and Chubb went off too. But wow, I can't believe he turned that down. That's a hell of an offer.
Right. So
What the fuck were you thinking?
Look, at that point,
Just to get
I was
Kyler Murray?
at that point I was on tilt. I had no quarterback. I really had
Your brain
I
is
had
broken.
2 running backs and nothing else. I had no quarterback. Kittle was underperforming at the time. And I was like, I need to reset everything. I need to get a quarterback. I need to have a wide receiver. I need to. My plan was to get rid of one running back, acquire a starting level quarterback, get another wide receiver, and fucking play mishmatch with freaking tight ends until Evan Ingram got healthy. And Evan Ingram hasn't been healthy since.
There's literally nothing you could have said to justify that trade. You were going to lose that trade
So
by a landslide.
again, I'm going to remind you.
I didn't even listen to what you just said. I just stared at you angrily.
Every trade I made this year was a loser. So don't complain that I rape everyone all the time or every offer I make is me just trying to screw over another guy. Because there are offers that I make, like that one, that if Travis wouldn't have been so leery
Look, if you're
about
looking
making
to
the
get
trade.
rid of every good player on your team for a handful of shit, I will give it to you. Let's make a deal right now.
Well, we can't because the trade deadline
God
passed.
damn.
The trade deadline was yesterday.
Why didn't you offer me up that kind of boat? I would have taken Kittle off your
Because
hands
you
and
love
Henry.
Josh Jacobs and Chris Carson. Devontae Adams.
I do love Josh Jacobs. I'd have been willing to deal Adams.
Yeah, I didn't want Adams, though.
You take that back.
You know, it would have worked out for me to not have Adams. This is a tough one. Prescott and Allen, that's a wash. McCaffrey's playing Washington. Washington's defense not that bad. I don't know what's going on with Chris Carson. You claim it's fine. Devontae Adams has not been himself this year.
Well,
But
okay,
Diggs
so look
played
at who he's up
Seattle.
against, though. Sony Michel, is that any more of a predictable? Like, Sony Michel has up and down games, too.
Well, I mean, flip a coin with any of the New England running backs.
Right.
You never know what's
Same
going
with
to happen.
the Carson Penny thing, I guess. You could, to be objective, you could say, who knows?
Jonathan Williams versus Robert Woods. I mean, the Rams' offenses look terrible.
Against the Cards, though, they're the 21st ranked defense in the NFL.
Yeah, but I don't know what's going on with Goff. I guess gun to my head, I take him.
Yeah, me too.
All right, well,
Just because he doesn't have bad weeks. Ever.
All
Like,
right.
I have bad weeks.
Aaron-
McCaffrey
Aaron,
scores
put
3
that up.
touchdowns a game.
Aaron, put that on the board. We both took Travis.
Oh, if he's putting it on the board, I'm taking me. Fuck it.
What?
Hey, we just can't go in on the same
All
thing.
right. I got Travis. Robert's got himself. Whoever wins gets a pizza.
Because if I don't have myself, who has me?
Your wife.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right. And really, what else? Oh, I have one more thing to talk about. Now, at the end of the year party this year,
See, I'm trying to be the ultimate comeback guy here, by the way, before you get carried away there. I want to beat Travis, show him I ain't no bitch. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to beat, what is it, Jason?
Jason.
Yeah, I'm going fucking for all the money.
Then I'm going for the opposite. I feel like Travis is going to win. You're going to come back and end up playing me.
And
You're going to lose to me for the second time in 3 weeks.
Shit!
Then I get to finish fourth.
Fuck.
You see, this is how it works.
No, but that's too realistic. I'm trying to go for the unbelievable We Could Be Heroes replacements Shane Falco ending.
Okay, so I love thinking up new twists. I like keeping things fresh. And I don't want our league to get stale. The auction draft was a nice twist that we put in last year. I think we're going to be, as a league as a whole, all more ready for it next year. But this is something I want to put into a vote for starting next season. Now, Robert and I were listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and he was talking to Matthew Berry, and they had talked about a league that Simmons is in from back, his old league from back home out east, that they take teams from the league, certain teams, and those teams go into a smaller playoff fantasy league for a second pot, and they continue on throughout the season or throughout the postseason. So here's my idea. Now, I think we should vote in the top 4. We can do it one of 2 ways, and you and I are going to discuss this right now. Take the top 4 teams from our league, the winner of the toilet bowl, and it can either be the next highest scoring team or the top scoring team in the playoffs or something along that lines to create a 6-team NFL playoff league, which those 6 teams keep their own rosters, and then I should say their own rosters of players on teams that make the playoffs, and then we'll have a draft where those 6 teams get together and we draft to fill out our rosters off of players from other people's teams
That didn't make the cut. Yeah.
that didn't make the cut. Those 6 teams would all be on the hook for putting in, let's just say, a $25 entry.
Yeah, $20, whatever. Yeah.
It's cumulative scoring, and either, depending on how much money we put in, it's either winner take all or top 2 payout.
Yeah.
And then
For that kind of thing, I'd like to do a winner take all because it's just, we're already up in the top X amount of teams. Some of them already won money.
But
Like,
you see,
it's kinda-
the idea of we can either do 4 teams, the 2 teams in the championship game and then 2 other teams, or the top 4 and 2 other teams. But I think it has to be, and that's why I said the top scoring playoff team, because this is the team that's coming in hot.
Mhm.
So
So hot.
it gives people, like Steve, who bitch about what do I have to play for if I miss the playoffs and there's no money involved and blah 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 and there's no draft pick. All right,
It's your own fault,
well,
Steve.
a guy like Steve can go 1-12, miss the playoffs, but if he gets hot and either wins,
That's not going to happen. But go on.
well, I'm just saying, and either
was so
and either
much
wins the toilet bowl or has high playoff points, you can get in this accessory league.
I like it.
And you can rejuvenate your team.
Absolutely.
So like I said, if it's a 6-team playoff, you take the top 4 teams and then the winner of the toilet bowl and the highest scoring team in the playoffs, or if the highest scoring team in the playoffs happens to be one of those 5 teams, then you just make it the highest scoring team overall or the highest, something along those lines. But I want to put that into a vote for this year. I think that'd be kind of a cool wrinkle. What's your input on that?
I am all in on this. I think it's a lot of fun. I like the playoff thing. Like I always wanted to get into a league where it was like a playoff throughout kind of thing. It's interesting because the season ends at week 17, 16 or whatever. And then you just watch football, a bunch of games that are interesting because of the NFL playoffs, but
Yep.
it still feels neat to have like a vested
then
interest.
In this playoff league, week 17 would not count because we would need that week 17
To
week
redraft,
to
yeah.
redraft.
I love it.
Because
Because a bunch of your players that you draft, they're going to have no points at some point when they drop out and stuff like
correct,
that. So
yeah.
it's-
Like I said,
you really have to do some homework. Like you might not be drafting necessarily the best player, but he's a player
drafting
that you think are going to make it the
yeah,
furthest.
you're trying to find people.
So
'cause
much
it's
different
kind of
research goes
It's
into
a
that.
juggling act because, for instance, I'm not saying that the Ravens, but if Lamar Jackson's out there and he's the highest scoring quarterback, but
Like if you don't think Dalvin Cook is going to get out of the wild card round, he would be useless.
that's a better case.
He would be like, you wouldn't draft him so high, even though he's the second best running back in football.
He'd probably be the best running back available
Right.
on the board.
But not necessarily somebody you want to take because you don't think he's going to go deep into the playoffs.
Correct.
It's
Yes,
crazy
exactly,
to think
yeah.
about.
So it's a completely
You'd
different
rather have
animal.
James White.
Yeah, because you think he's going to get there. He might not score a ton of points,
Right.
But that's the other thing you got to weigh is the points I am going to get from 1 week of this player going to be more or less than, let's say, 4 weeks of the second string guy.
Yeah. A couple years I played the ESPN version of this where you do the playoff draft, and I finished really well. I played it a couple times. It's really fun. And at some point you lose players and you're down to just like these three guys that made it that far. It's kind of neat. I loved it.
So there's many strategies to do it. And like I said, we can either make it 4 players or 6 players. There's a couple of different options. All kind of have some ideas laid out, and we'll see if it votes in.
Love it.
And I guess I'll vamp for a while. But yeah, if you end up being one of those 4 or 6 teams, you will be obligated to pay the $20 or $25 to continue to play. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You just have to. That's something we got to discuss whether we want to do that or not. It's about that time. We're gonna skip Family Circle for this week. We're gonna try to do this on a more regular basis. It's been tough. Robert's had stuff going on. I had stuff going on. I apologize for it being a shitty year, guys. I know everybody's been on our case about not doing this thing more. We'll make it happen throughout the playoffs here, and we'll do what we can. But for now, Robert and I, we got to go to a party. It is 10:43 in the p.m., and it's one of them young people parties, so I'm sure they're still partying, even though us old fucks are going to show up at 11 o'clock. But it'll make us look cool, is basically what it's coming down to. But for me and Robert, who's still taking a piss, it's the Gentleman Fantasy Football Podcast signing out.
Was that intermission music?
No, it's over.
Oh, nice.